All right, so I want to talk about kratom use and spirituality, or for lack of a better word, kratom use while you're on the psychedelic journey or the shamanic journey. Um, what I've come to realize is that over time, so in the beginning when I started my YouTube channel, I just had a psychedelic DMT trip report YouTube channel originally, where I would just like have my trip reports, my philosophies, on my ideas from DMT, things I've learned from DMT, things like that. Then it just became me documenting my journey, and now the journey has gone. It's a lot more than just psychedelics. It's not, but what I've so after using just like DMT, I went to using I started expanding my consciousness with LSD, with psilocybin mushrooms, with uh, then went from obviously this whole time before that I tried cannabis at a young age, so I've been smoking cannabis almost every day since I was 15 years old. Um, so after so that's been there this whole time. But after the summer of 2016, which is when I first tried LSD and psilocybin mushrooms, I ended up trying kratom because of the whole kratom ban. They tried banning kratom, and because they tried banning kratom, it just kind of sparked my interest. Uh, because I was like, if they're trying to ban it, then it must be good because they don't usually ban plants unless they're trying to keep us away from them. Like cannabis, for example, or like psilocybin mushrooms, or like DMT or LSD. They're with these type of things, it's not like they're really that concerned with our health. That's not why they make these type of things illegal. But I think that for me personally, this is just my personal experience. So for someone else, this might not happen, but for me, this is just how it goes. Because of all my psychedelic use and my me diving deep with psychedelics, and I feel like I take it really shamanically and spiritually. So my whole diving deep with DMT has made me look at the whole world in a completely different way. Because after doing DMT hundreds of times, you can't just look at the world the same way. It doesn't work that way. So with me, kratom literally grounds me. It's hard to explain, but I've just come to realize, I guess, why I use kratom. Like in the beginning, I used kratom because they were gonna ban it, so I wanted to try it before it got banned. See what's the big deal with this thing, you know? But from there, I realized, the mental stimulation, the mental energy, it can give me, like, it helps me with having a drive, motivation, dedication, helps me be able to keep going, keep pushing, stay focused. But over time, I've come to realize it's deeper than just, for me personally, for me helping me stay focused and stay driven. It's that when I'm not on kratom, and because I literally just took this kratom break, so I took a 3 month kratom break, and I literally just started taking kratom again yesterday, and so basically from me going on a kratom break, a 3 month kratom break, to me starting kratom again yesterday, what I've noticed for that 3 month kratom break is I became a lot more shamanic. I became a lot more doing shamanic rituals and shamanic ceremonies, and diving deep with other different plants, and in more of a spiritual aspect of ways where it's like kratom honestly helps me be more of a linear um, businessman. It helps me be a businessman because I'm trying to learn business. I'm trying to learn how to be an entrepreneur. You know, now I have to learn taxes, and I'm trying to do all this other stuff. Right now, what Kratom allows me to do is it allows me to focus on that. It allows me to clear my mind from all the interdimensional knowledge and interdimensional, I guess, interference, and it allows me to focus. And it's funny because I say that, I guess I was just saying to my girl that it's like, I feel like it keeps me human. Kratom helps me stay human. And everyone's going to be like, well, you're human no matter what. Of course, I'm human no matter what. But what I mean is, my thoughts are interdimensional. If I'm not When I'm not using Kratom, my thoughts tend to be much more interdimensional, much more out there. My mind is much more in the clouds. That's the first thing I noticed when I stopped using Kratom, when I started on the 3 month break, is that my mind started going more in the clouds, like philosophizing about interdimensional space and theorizing about reality and time and space, and separating into meditation and into myself, and diving deep with, and having plant dietas. And I don't know if you know what a plant dieta is, but it's when basically you cut out a lot of different things out of your diet, basically, and then you're ingesting this plant. You're ingesting one plant, and you're going in with that one plant. Now, my plant dietas were a little different because I kind of cheated a little bit, because I use cannabis every day. So, I was also on cannabis as well for these plant dietas, um, but it was just, everything I was doing was much more in a spiritual context, and I was much more beginning to separate from reality, and not necessarily separate from reality, but distance myself from the idea uh, that reality is real, I guess. It's almost like this is the Matrix, and why fall into the Matrix when you can fall out of the Matrix? So that's what I was doing for the past 3 months, is just diving deep back into my mind and exploring my consciousness again. And what's interesting is I was exploring my consciousness for this 3 months without the use of psychedelics, without the use of traditional psychedelics. I was just using motherwort. Mainly, I had this for a month and a half. I had a plant dieta with motherwort for a month and a half. And people say that motherwort, is just used for, women's issues. And I think that motherwort is an amazing, powerful, spiritual tool, spiritual ally, that it's really helped me in my life a lot. That month and a half plant dieta with it really changed my life. And I've just noticed that, you know, without that break from Kratom, I wouldn't have even noticed that Kratom is a grounding herb, but grounding in a different way than I thought. I don't know, it's just my mind is way more down to earth. It's just I'm more, Kratom allows me to be more down to earth. Um and I can focus, on one task at a time, because I feel like without Kratom, it's like I could be thinking about, 1 second I could be thinking about interdimensional travel. The next second I could be thinking I'm gonna make some music, then start making music. Next second I could be like, fuck, I don't want to, make some music and watch some YouTube videos. Next second I could be like, thinking about interdimensional travel, my DMT trips, life, death, all at the same time, and it's all being scattered. But what Kratom really does is it just allows me to remove all the extra shit and think one thing at a time. So if I want to, if I'm focusing on one thing, like I'm focused on that one thing. I'm not thinking about interdimensional travel from interdimensional beings from another dimension, even though I know they still, to me personally, I believe, yes, they still exist, but I don't think that, I'm just not thinking about it as much. It helps me be, I guess, more in the moment, but not in the moment in like a separated meditative sense, but in the moment of the just normal day-to-day reality. It's very interesting to just notice the change. And even my girl just told me that she noticed the change as well. Like, it's interesting when I notice the change, but it's even more interesting when other people notice the change and they mention it to you, because, I'm very observant with myself. So I notice the change in myself because that's why I use it. But it's just, yeah, it's interesting. Kratom still changes your state of consciousness, but nowhere near does it impair it. It does not if anything, it can repair it. If anything, it will just ground you, and for me personally, it helps me just stay more focused and stay more linear. For lack of a better word. But yeah, it was just interesting, that 3-month break. I needed that, though. I guess I needed to be a little more spiritual. But this is why I wanted to talk about this real quick, because I think that Kratom should be used with caution, just like any other plant herb. Like, you should be educated. It should be used with high education, meaning I feel like you should get highly educated on the plant before you ever let the plant go anywhere near your lips, go anywhere near inside of you. You need to, I feel like, research the fuck out of it. Don't just say, yeah, I watched some videos and I know what I'm talking about. Or don't just, and when I say research, don't just read the fucking bullshit articles that they have on Google, where they're saying Kratom is horrible and it's killed this many people and it's this and that. I don't want research. Listen to people who have been using it for years, people who have gotten off of it, people who have gotten on it. Listen to why they got off of it. Listen to why they use it. Listen to the pros and the cons, because there are cons. And people think that they're with Kratom, because we don't like to talk about it because all the bullshit that's happened with Kratom. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that yes, it is addictive, and yes, there is cons to using it, that there are side effects, but there are side effects to everything in life, and one of the side effects, I feel like, honestly, and I hate to say it, I guess, is that it almost suppresses, I don't want to say it suppresses spirituality, but it almost, so if your frequency was all the fucking out there, if you were just like back in the day when in the psychedelic 60s and all that, they would say, yeah, I'm far out, man. They would use the term far out to describe how hard they were tripping, or how far out into the tripping realm, I guess, they were. And I feel like what Kratom does is, if psychedelics, can take you far out, can leave you far out, what Kratom does for me is it brings you back a little bit. It like grounds you back from being so far out. And this is also what I noticed with motherwort when I was I guess never mind. I'll leave that for another video. But yeah, I'm gonna get going though. But basically, I just wanted to say, if you're on a psychedelic spiritual path, use Kratom with caution. It is addictive. It does have withdrawal symptoms. It also can, I feel like, prevent you from like going any farther in your spiritual path necessarily. Like, what it helped me apply more of what I already needed, what I learned. It's like DMT taught me so much that yeah, I could take a break for 2 years from using DMT. But that 2 years that I took a break from DMT was the 2 years that I started using Kratom. So that's what I guess I wanted to talk, what I wanted to just bring up is, if you have the intention to like dive deep within your mind spiritually and enlighten yourself, then I feel like just be cautious with Kratom, because it might prevent you from wanting to expand your consciousness with psychedelics, or maybe being able to gain certain things from it. Because over the past 2 years, I've gained knowledge because I've used psychedelics and I've even taken shrooms with kratom before, and like I still get things out of it. It's just like I said, it's a grounding herb for me, so it prevents me from going too far out. And sometimes for me personally, and this is the reason why I'm mentioning this, is because some people are on a shamanic path. And if you're on a shamanic path and you're trying to dive as deep as possible into the shamanic ocean, then I feel like not being on kratom would help to dive deeper into the shamanic ocean. But, kratom's not a bad thing, because like I said, I'm using kratom now again. But I needed that 3 months to go on plant dietas with other plants and more spiritual plants and use them for more spiritual purposes and whatever, because my intention with kratom, every plant to me that I ingest is spiritual to me, but my intention with kratom isn't necessarily shamanic. My intention with kratom is to help me be more of, I guess, of a businessman, more linear, more focused, more. Kratom also helps me learn quicker. It allows me to shut my mind off when I'm learning new information. And it helps me focus better on the new information. So it's just something I use to enhance that side of my mind. But in order for me to, I feel like, enhance that side of my mind, what it also does is it somewhat shuts down the more psychedelic aspect of my mind, just for that brief amount of time that the kratom effect is in. Now, like I said, I mean, I've still used psychedelics on kratom and whatever, but I feel like it becomes less of a spiritual experience, personally, for me. And so, yeah, this is just my personal opinion, but I just wanted to touch base on this because I've never really heard anyone talk about it in this context before. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.